Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that a lot of fans out there of the Star Wars franchise have different feelings about going into The Rise of Skywalker. A lot of fans are either very excited, apathetic towards this movie, or very worried about exactly how Disney and Lucasfilm are going to utilize all the different revelations, the twists and the turns, as well as all of the different reveals in this movie that will change how we view the past 8 Star Wars movies that come before this one. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about this movie is, of course, we do know that they went through various different changes throughout the months of August, September, and October in order to really change up the overall tone of this movie in comparison to the initial cut of The Rise of Skywalker. You know, they went through a lot of different changes in order to really create a different narrative for the final installment of the Skywalker saga, which explains as to why the marketing of this movie, to be quite honest, has been quite poor in comparison to The Force Awakens. There's no doubt about that at all. Now, on top of all of this, a lot of fans have always been wondering about what's with Kathleen Kennedy, what has been going on with her involvement in The Rise of Skywalker, and I wanted to actually go over as to why Kathleen Kennedy is a problem within the Star Wars franchise and why we need new leadership over Lucasfilm, because it just shows that she does indeed have quite a lot of flaws as being president of Lucasfilm without a doubt. Now, specifically, it's explained that through many of the reshoots and rewrites of the film, it said that Disney and Lucasfilm went through many changes and adjustments to the second and third acts of the film to create a new tone for the movie. It said that one of the sequences in the film that Disney and Kathleen Kennedy wanted to change involved a moment in the movie within the third act of the film, where they wanted to change the third act of the movie. It's explained that one of the big changes made by Disney and Kathleen Kennedy was by excluding Anakin Skywalker from the final scene of the movie on the world of Tatooine as a Force ghost. It's explained that the original plans by George Lucas when he was involved for the ending of the film were actually scrapped because Kathleen Kennedy made a proposal to J.J. Abrams of how the actual film and how it should all end and how it should all be done, and that now there is no Anakin Skywalker Force Ghost at the very end of Episode 9, and that Rey becomes the Chosen One after defeating Palpatine on the world of Exegol. Now, it's also said that the movie will have an increase in identity politics and agenda-driven tactics to send a message in the latest Star Wars film that would relate to real-world events. The idea of Rey calling herself a Skywalker actually did not originally come from J.J. Abrams. However, it's said that it was actually a discussion created by Kathleen Kennedy that J.J. Abrams agreed with, just how Kathleen Kennedy was the one to propose the idea to have a female lead character in The Force Awakens of the sequel trilogy that would be very powerful and would learn faster than Luke Skywalker. It's said that they actually needed this as a way of completely changing because Kathleen Kennedy wanted J.J. Abrams to do at the very ending of the film, where it's said that another scene that was also changed by Kathleen Kennedy was by changing the initial cut of the film that would involve Kylo Ren destroying Palpatine once and for all. However, it was Kennedy who wanted it to be Rey to destroy the Sith and forward the idea to J.J. Abrams to make Rey the Chosen One. Now, the one who would bring an end to the Dark Lord, who has poisoned the Skywalker family for decades, would be defeated by the hands of Rey. That is all said to have been done by Kathleen Kennedy herself, that Anakin Skywalker will be handing over the title of the Chosen One to Rey. Now, the sequence is said to be Kennedy's idea of making Rey more powerful than both Luke and Anakin, and that Kennedy knew that if Kylo Ren destroyed Palpatine, he would be able to die at that where Kathleen wanted to end the Skywalker saga forever with no way of going back, and that this was her way of doing that. Kennedy also reduced Palpatine's screen time from 25 minutes to 12 minutes long, where he is actually said to have a small scene in the beginning of the film with Kylo Ren on Exegol, and then a longer scene at the very end of the movie with both Ben and Rey, while they are ready to face him and use their sabers against his Sith lightning, that will create tons of flashing effects on the big screen. Ian McDiarmid's deleted scenes are said to head over to the Blu-ray this March of 2020 that will explain more about him. So let's go over a couple of parts about this as to why this is yet again Kathleen Kennedy wrecking the Star Wars franchise. There's no doubt about it. Now, this is another reason as to why I believe that we need new leadership. We need somebody, anybody. We need maybe Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau or Kevin Feige, even though I believe that Dave Filoni would be a better choice than Kevin, to be quite honest with you. But the fact that Kathleen Kennedy just doesn't truly understand Star Wars and how everything is just driven by her own ideas, and not necessarily the director's ideas, right? Now, it's also J.J. Abrams to blame as well, because J.J. seems to just kind of agree with everything that Kathleen Kennedy proposes to him, and kind of just, you know, basically gives him all these different ideas and all these different directions to go. Initially, there was going to be a cut of The Rise of Skywalker where Kylo Ren would be the one to destroy Palpatine once and for all, as it should have been. Because I believe that at the end of the day, the Skywalker family should have some sort of revenge against the Sith Lord who turned Anakin to the dark side, being Darth Vader. That's what I really do believe. I believe that, you know, when we look at The Rise of Skywalker, it's got the name Skywalker in the title. Obviously, it refers to Rey calling herself a Skywalker at the very end of the movie. That's the main meaning of the title. And I think that's going to upset a lot of fans, without a doubt. I really do. I think a lot of fans are going into this, a lot of casual fans going into this thinking that The Rise of Skywalker has something to do with Luke or Anakin, you know, rising from the dead or something like that, or something to do significantly with Luke and or Anakin at the very end of the film. You know, we do know that J.J. Abrams stated that there are multiple meanings to the title of Episode 9, but the main meaning of it all really has to do with Rey calling herself a Skywalker. The other reason as to why Kathleen Kennedy wrecked this movie, I will admit, is that she is the one who excluded Anakin Skywalker from the very ending of Episode 9, and only wanted Luke and Leia's Force Ghost to appear on Tatooine, watching over Rey and her friends. Now, that to me doesn't make so much sense, because why would you have the Force Ghost show up at the very end of Return of the Jedi, and then only for the Skywalker twins to show up at the very end of Episode 9? Now, I get it, maybe they don't want to copy Return of the Jedi fully, but again, you could have changed it up quite a bit. You would still have additional Force Ghosts with the traditional 3 that we saw in Return of the Jedi. You had, you know, Anakin, Kenobi, and Yoda in Episode 6, and then to change it up, so this way it's not directly copying Episode 6, you could have really added in, you know, just Luke and Leia aside those 3 Force Ghosts, and there were plans to have Ben Solo as a Force Ghost, and that's no longer a thing because of Kathleen Kennedy. So, the thing about Kennedy, let me say, I mean, if we look all the way back in 2012 at that interview that she was going to take care of these characters and not alter them in any way, shape, or form in a negative sense, you could see exactly how she betrayed George Lucas. And even George, we actually talked about this in that interview by Bob Iger, where he stated that George felt betrayed with The Force Awakens, that they used none of his ideas, and how they took his characters in a different direction that he wasn't really, you know, fully all for. And I think that when we look at this movie, right, how they call it the Skywalker Saga, yet it seems like they kind of just ignore the Skywalkers. That's the one thing that bothers me, is that it's called the Skywalker Saga. That's what they use in their little marketing of, you know, The Last Jedi, The Force Awakens, The Rise of Skywalker. They call it the Skywalker Saga, but yet in this movie, it seems like it's ignoring the Skywalkers the most. Realize how there's no Luke or anybody like that on the posters or on the promotional material. There's no sign of Luke Skywalker at all whatsoever, and there's no hint of him in any way, shape, or form. It reminds me of The Force Awakens, to be quite honest, where we had no marketing material of Luke at all, period. And that led to, of course, a lot of disappointment with how Luke was treated, you know, in, of course, The Force Awakens. Now, I will admit, I actually liked the ending of The Force Awakens, how, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it did open up the possibilities of what was to come for The Last Jedi, and it opened up a lot of ideas, and it really kept you mystified, you know, like, what does Luke Skywalker sound like when he talks? And I kind of liked that. It really kind of kept you thinking for 2 years straight as to how Luke Skywalker acts and how he talks at the very end of The Force Awakens. So, at the end of the day, I didn't have too much of a problem with that, but it was the marketing. They could have at least slapped Luke on the poster or something like that. So they're doing the same exact thing here with The Rise of Skywalker, and I think that going into this movie, Kathleen Kennedy, the fact that she has literally changed by far one of the most emotional pieces, you know, excluding Anakin and altering the scenes between Kylo Ren and Palpatine, I mean, I don't know. That's just me. I think Kathleen Kennedy needs to be replaced. I think somebody else needs to run Lucasfilm. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again.